Before we start today's lesson, let me just remind you that anytime you need more time to work or more time to copy the notes, you can press pause at any time. When you're ready to start back up with the video, press play again. For today's lesson, you're going to need a journal and a pencil. So if you would turn to your next blank page in your journal, put today's date at the top, and the title of today's lesson, which is Mixed Numbers and Improper Fractions. We're going to start with vocabulary. We have 2 vocabulary words today. I need you to write them in 2 column note format in your journal. Your first vocabulary word is mixed number. You need to remember that a mixed number contains both a whole number and a fraction. Some examples of mixed numbers are 3 1/2, 8 6/7. 3 is your whole number, a half is your fraction. 8 is your whole number, 6/7 is your fraction. Our second vocabulary word today is an improper fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction that has a numerator that is greater than or equal to the denominator. For example, 12/7 is an improper fraction because the numerator 12 is greater than the denominator 7. 16/16 is also an improper fraction because the numerator is equal to the denominator. Example number 1. If a spaceship lifts off the moon, it must travel at a speed of 2 2/5 kilometers per second in order to escape the pull of the moon's gravity. Write this speed as an improper fraction. Draw a picture to prove. So in your journal, put a number 1, and let's write the mixed number 2 2/5. We're first going to draw a model to prove how to change 2 2/5 into an improper fraction. My whole number 2 tells me that I have 2 wholes. So I'm going to draw 2 rectangles to represent my 2 wholes. Now notice, since my denominator is 5, each whole needs to be divided into 5 equal pieces. Now, if I shade in my 2 wholes, I still have to shade in 2. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. I'm still dividing into fifths because my denominator was 5. And of those fifths, I'm going to shade in 2. So there is my model to represent 2 2/5. Now, let's count how many fifths we have shaded all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have a total of 12 fifths shaded in. So 2 2/5 as an improper fraction is 12 fifths. Notice that my denominator stayed the same. Now, it's not reasonable for me to have to draw a model every time I need to change a mixed number into an improper fraction. So let's review our strategy that we used last year in 5th grade, and it was called Around the World. So I'm going to take my same mixed number, 2 2/5, and in order to use my around the world method, I multiply denominator times whole number and then add the numerator. So let's practice. 5 times 2 is 10. Please write your product up above. Now let's add. 10 plus 2 is 12. And remember, my denominator stays the same. So once again, I've shown by using my around the world strategy and my model that 2 2/5 is equivalent to 12/5. Let's try another example together. Number 2. As part of a regular exercise, Max walked 2 3/8 miles each morning. Write this distance as an improper fraction. So we have 2 3/8. We're going to use our around the world strategy. So denominator times whole number. So 8 times 2 is 16. Then we add our numerator. 16 plus 3 is 19. Don't forget our denominator stays the same. So 2 3/8 is equivalent to 19/8. Now I want you to try 2 on your own. I want you to solve number 3 and number 4 on your own. Press pause to solve them. When you are finished, press play again to check your work. Okay, let's check your work. For number 3, we had 7 2/3. We multiplied denominator times whole number. So 3 times 7 is 21. Then we added our numerator. 21 plus 2 is 23. Denominator stayed the same. So 7 2/3 is equivalent to 23/3. Give yourself a smiley face if you got it correct. Now let's check number 4. For number 4, we had 10 6/7. To change it into an improper fraction, we go around the world. 7 times 10 is 70. 70 plus 6 is 76. Denominator stayed the same. So 10 6/7 is equivalent to 76/7. If you got that one right, give yourself a smiley face. If not, please make corrections. Okay. Now let's go on to changing improper fractions into mixed numbers. The problem asks for number 5 to write the following improper fractions as a mixed number. Draw a picture to prove. So we have the improper fraction 10/4. Now remember, my denominator of 4 tells me how many equal parts my shape is going to be divided into. So I'm going to choose to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to divide it into 4 equal pieces. And my numerator of 10 tells me that I need to shade in tenths. So let's shade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I've only shaded in 4/4 and I need to shade in 10/4. So I'm going to have to do a rectangle. I'm going to divide it into fourths, and I'm going to keep shading. So now I have 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, and 8/4 shaded. I've still only shaded 8/4, and I need to shade 10/4. So I'm going to have to draw another rectangle, divide it into fourths still, and continue shading. That's 9/4, and now I have 10/4. So let's look to see what we have shaded. Notice that we have 2 holes shaded in, and then we have 2 extra fourths, or 2/4 remaining. But notice that 2/4 is not in simplest form. Your answers must always be in simplest form. So notice that I can divide both by 2. So 2/4 simplifies to 1/2. When you're writing your answer, be sure to put your whole number and your fraction together. So my answer is 2 1/2. Now, once again, it's not reasonable for me to draw a model for every single problem. So our strategy that we're going to use for the next problem is fall to the side and divide. So let's try problem number 6 with the fall to the side and divide strategy. So question number 6 gives me 23 thirds. I like to think of my fraction bar as the diving board. The numerator 23 is on the diving board, and he is going to dive into the pool. The water's too cold for the denominator 3, so he stays out of the pool. So here's my pool. 23 is going to dive into the pool. 3 is staying out of the pool. Now I'm able to divide. 3 divides into 23 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21, with 2 left over. Now, here's how you take your division problem and use it to help you write your mixed number. My 7 is my whole number because 3 divides into 23 7 whole times. My remainder of 2 becomes my numerator in my fraction. And then remember, denominator always stays the same. So 23 thirds is equivalent to 7 and 2 thirds. Notice 2 thirds is in simplest form because both numerator and denominator are prime, or you can say because they are 1 away. Let's try another one together. Number 7, 50 fourths. Remember that my top number or my numerator is going to dive into the pool. My denominator stays on the outside. And now let's divide. 4 divides into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4, with 1 left over. Bring down the 0. 4 divides into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8, with 2 left over. Remember that 4 divides into 50 12 whole times, so 12 is my whole number. My remainder becomes my numerator, and my denominator stays the same. So now I have 12 and 2 fourths. But notice it is not in simplest form, so I'm going to have to simplify. I can simplify by 2's. So 2 fourths simplifies to 1/2. Don't forget to put your whole number, your simplified fraction together. So 50 fourths is equivalent to 12 and 1/2. I want you to try examples 8 and 9 on your own. Press pause while you work them. Press play when you are ready to check. For number 8, let's check your work. 49 should have fallen to the side. Oops, sorry, 49. Now I'm able to divide. 5 goes into 49 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. So I had 4 left over. 5 divided into 49 9 whole times, so don't forget 9 is your whole number. My remainder, 4, becomes my numerator. My denominator stays the same. So 49 fifths is equivalent to 9 and 4 fifths. It's in simplest form because numerator and denominator are 1 away. If you got it right, give yourself a smiley face. Okay, let's try number 9. Number 9 says 28 fourths. Remember, 28 dives in. Now let's divide. 4 divides into 28 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28, with none left over. So for my answer, I could say 7 and 0 fourths, but we know the simplest way to write that is just the whole number 7. So 28 fourths is equal to 7 wholes. If you got it right, give yourself a smiley face.